Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, January 4th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. The first full week of the new year should feature plenty of sunshine and pleasant daytime temperatures in San Antonio. Today, you can expect a high of 67 degrees under sunny skies. Tuesday's Senate runoff races in Georgia may ultimately decide whether San Antonio gets more federal cash to spend on coronavirus-related expenses as its leaders see fit. And while executions in the Lone Star State were at an all-time low last year, Texas was one of only 2 states, besides the federal government, that carried out executions during the pandemic. Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzales is one of several prosecutors in Texas who have vowed to curtail the use of the death penalty. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. The worst is coming, experts say. In Bexar County, the number of new coronavirus patients in hospitals broke the daily record twice last week as infections continue to climb, rivaling the summer surge. The city is on pace to set a new record for infected patients this week. Nearly a year into the pandemic, even as a more contagious variant of the coronavirus circulates and the death toll rises to previously unimaginable levels, many have lost the discipline, if they ever had it, to follow the advice of public health experts to socially distance and wear masks. Health experts say what's driving the current surge is more layered than mere COVID fatigue. We talked to local leaders and everyday people about the toll of worrying and their opinions of safety guidelines. We have what they told us over at expressnews.com. Last week, Governor Greg Abbott said state data showed a significant portion of Texas coronavirus vaccine allotment was sitting on shelves. The commissioner of the Department of State Health Services urged all providers to begin inoculating members of the second group, saying he didn't want any dose unused. On the ground, providers across the state say they've run out of supply, and many still haven't worked their way through the first priority group of frontline workers. State data indicates that 377,050 people have received coronavirus vaccines, while 789,925 doses have been distributed to vaccine providers. But that data doesn't fully capture the scene. We explain why over at expressnews.com. A section of Bexar County's jail, South Tower, could become a mental health facility with rooms to house and treat several hundred people who Sheriff Javier Salazar says should be patients, not inmates. The facility would be staffed by healthcare professionals in proximity to the jail, but separate and independent from the sheriff's office. It's one of several ideas the sheriff is trying out in the new year as he starts his second term to fix persistent problems at the jail related to working conditions and costly overtime for detention officers. Read about some of the proposed solutions and potential roadblocks over at expressnews.com. Eric Alcala only remembers the flashlights beaming into his room as immigration agents searched the house. Alcala, a U.S.-born citizen, was 7 years old when his parents were deported. They came early in the morning. The sun wasn't even up yet, the 19-year-old said recently from his sister's home in San Antonio. He is the only member of his family born in the United States. They started searching the house to see if there was anyone else, he said. It was the second week of September in 2008. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials had learned that his parents had been living undocumented in Real Alto, California for over a decade. He said how they found out is still a mystery, but his family's story reflects an issue that has spanned multiple administrations, the separation of family members from U.S. citizens. Sylvia Foster Frau has more in her latest story over at expressnews.com. As demand for testing has increased significantly during the holidays and inclement weather pushes people inside, people going to community centers are forgetting physical distancing once they get inside. Testing at the AT&T Center, the Cuellar Community Center, and the Ramirez Community Centers has grown from up to 500 a day in November to 1,600 a day in December, Community Lab says. Head over to expressnews.com to check out our interactive map of San Antonio coronavirus testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find the site closest to you by entering your address, selecting a circle to find out more about a location, including if it's appointment only and if it has drive-through testing. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. San Antonio officials reported a record number of new coronavirus cases on Sunday, pushing the total since the pandemic began beyond 120,000. Sunday's 1,997 new cases shattered the previous record of 1,717 set on December 22nd. A pastor was killed and 2 other people were injured in a shooting at an East Texas church on Sunday after the pastor pulled a gun on a suspect who had been hiding out in the church, according to a local sheriff. Neither the city's ban on fireworks nor the chilly weather could stop San Antonians from lighting up the skyline on New Year's Eve. You can read more and watch videos over at expressnews.com. The San Antonio Food Bank plans to build a $9 million apartment complex next to its new Braunfels branch for financially struggling families in the area. An Army NCO in San Antonio found in a vehicle on I-10 had been shot multiple times and died early New Year's Day at a local hospital, military authorities said. A lawsuit filed in federal court alleges that a San Antonio police officer used excessive force when she threw a woman to the ground last year, breaking several of the woman's teeth. It's the 4th time the officer has been accused of excessive force while on the job. 3 Shirts police officers who tackled, kicked, and tased a teenager during a controversial arrest in November will receive counseling after an internal investigation into their actions found they did not act in a kind, courteous, or patient manner. A team of local, state, and national law enforcement officials meets 3 times a week to identify threats. It may be the first team of its kind in Texas. Read more about how they work to prevent mass violence and targeted attacks over at expressnews.com. Starting Monday, University Health will begin to vaccinate anyone 65 or older, as well as younger people with chronic health conditions. Within hours of the announcement, all 17,280 available appointments were booked. Bexar County commissioners rang in the new year with a historic ceremony, swearing in the court's first woman of color. Not only that, but this is the first time in 20 years that a woman has served on the commission. Gilbert Garcia writes, quote, "As Margin Walker painfully demonstrated, when it comes to music, clubs, and promoters, the condition is critical and the need is urgent. The Save Our Stages Act won't be a miracle cure, but it can buy some much-needed time until the country turns the corner on the coronavirus." You can read Gilbert's full column over at expressnews.com. The University of Texas announced it has selected Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian to replace head football coach Tom Herman, dismissed Saturday morning after going 32-18 over 4 seasons. On the Herman move, Mike Finger writes, quote, "Tom Herman got what everyone figured he had coming, and that included a $15 million parting gift. Maybe this finally will be the time when Texas gets what it thinks it deserves too." Decades after the need was recognized, a national museum honoring the contributions of Latinos in the United States is on its way to becoming a reality. Read the latest from the Express News editorial board for more on this. This week in history, on January 9th, 1978, the English punk band The Sex Pistols performed in front of 2,000 at Randy's Rodeo in San Antonio the previous evening. Several wild incidents interrupted the concert, including a pie in the face, flying beer cans, and other litter, causing the concert to be stopped several times. Quote, "The brief incident came when an outraged member of the audience stormed the stage, hit a band member with a pie in the face, and was whacked on the head by the bass player. The incident passed quickly, however, and the concert resumed." Read more about the Sex Pistols show at Randy's Rodeo over at expressnews.com. Born via emergency C-section and about 2 months early, Ailey Guckian spent the first months of her life in late 2019 at Methodist Hospital Stone Oak. While Ailey was on her back in the incubator, a portion of the back of her still pliable skull had flattened, skewing its growth to the right. In recent decades, as public health campaigns have sought to reduce the rates of sudden infant death syndrome, parents have increasingly placed their babies on their backs, in bouncers, and in carriers. That position is safer for the baby, but increases the risk of head deformity. Ailey qualified for a helmet, which she wore 23 hours a day for 3 months. The helmet didn't slow her down in a pageant, and her parents used the platform as an opportunity to dispel misconceptions about babies who wear helmets. Lauren Karuba has more over at expressnews.com. Daniela Oliver de Portillo felt better once she stopped doom scrolling and started creating again after a 12-year hiatus. Passion Projects, a new series, looks at how San Antonians are coping with the pandemic by taking on activities that excite and inspire them. You can read the first entry over at expressnews.com. After successive years of barbecue, burgers, and pizza, our 52-week series in 2021 is Food Trucks. Carnitas Don Raul on Broadway kicks off the series with a worth a drive rating. For everything you need to know about the food trucks, tacos, tortas, and more, head over to expressnews.com. Head over to expressnews.com to check out what we're looking forward to in arts and entertainment in the new year, with some stay-at-home options in the winter and spring. Steak Frites bring together the best of fine dining and blue-collar comfort food at restaurants in San Antonio. We have 4 of the best places to get the classic French dish over at expressnews.com. Paul Stevens has the complete guide to everything you need to know about pie plates. From suet to safflower, Calvin Finch explains how to get more birds in your garden this winter. In his down-to-earth column, Neil Sperry addresses dandelions, invasive Mexican petunia, persistent fungus gnats, and more. And that's all for today. This was your Express Briefing for Monday, January 4th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Happy New Year, everyone.